I'm so glad that you're here today. This first week is all about understanding the deeper forces behind processed food addiction and beginning to meet the parts of yourself that may be caught in that struggle. This isn't a conversation about willpower or discipline. It's a conversation about brain chemistry, emotional protection, and self compassion. Let's start with a clear definition. Processed food addiction is a condition where the brain becomes dependent on highly palatable substances, things like sugar, refined flour, fat, salt, dairy, and caffeine. These aren't just tasty ingredients, although they are. When they're concentrated and combined in certain ways, they act on the brain just like drugs. They light up the reward centers in your brain, especially dopamine and the opioid systems, creating a rush of pleasure and relief. And over time, your brain starts to crave that relief, and the wiring in your brain shifts. You may find yourself obsessing over food, eating in secret, losing control, or feeling panicked when those foods aren't available. But this is not a personal or a moral failure. It's a neurochemical hijacking, and you are not alone. So let's break down what's happening in the brain when we're stuck in this cycle. Let's talk about dopamine flooding and withdrawal. Every time we eat a highly processed food, the brain floods with dopamine, that feel good chemical. But repeated flooding leads to something called dopamine downregulation, where the receptors in your brain become less sensitive. And that means you need more food to feel the same level of relief or pleasure. And when you stop, you may feel worse. You may feel irritable or foggy or tired. This is not emotional weakness, it's withdrawal. And from an internal family systems IFS perspective, you might notice that a part of you panics when withdrawal symptoms show up. That part may rush in with cravings, trying to protect you from discomfort. We'll begin to notice and befriend these parts in the upcoming weeks. Loss of control, cravings, and obsession. Have you ever felt like something just took over? Well, that's really not just your imagination. When you're exposed to food cues like a commercial or a smell, the reward system in the brain and the amygdala go into overdrive. The prefrontal cortex, that part of your brain that is called the thinking brain, it gets pushed aside. So even if you want to stop, you literally cannot make a rational decision to stop in that moment. In IFS, this is when firefighter parts show up fast and loud. They act impulsively, anything to make the discomfort stop. They're not bad, they're just trying to help. The brain remembers relief and it wants it again. Even after weeks or months off of processed foods, a single cue can spark a powerful craving. Why? Well, it's because your hippocampus and amygdala store memories of relief. That cookie that made you feel less alone, that drive-through meal that gave you a break from the chaos, those events are encoded in your nervous system. When a craving hits, it's often not about the food at all. It's about the part of you that remembers feeling safe or comforted. IFS teaches us to turn toward these parts with compassion. You might say something like, "Hey, I see you're trying to help. Let's talk." Throughout this course, we'll use IFS to understand our inner world. You'll meet parts that crave, parts that criticize, parts that hide, parts that push for perfection. And beneath all of them is something else, a calm, compassionate self. That's who we're strengthening. So when a craving hits this week, try asking yourself, what part of me is activated right now? What is it afraid would happen if I didn't eat that? Can I be with that part instead of blending with it? You don't have to fix it, just be curious. So here's how to work with this week's material. Watch this video as many times as you'd like. Try the journal prompts. And most of all, be kind to yourself. This is not about perfection. It's about building safety. Thank you very much for being here. I'll see you soon.